Have you ever wondered about the right time to step away from a woman and let silence speak for you? This is one of the biggest dilemmas for men. How long to keep pushing and when to simply stop, because persistence has ceased to be a strength and has become a weakness. Today, I'm going to show you, without beating around the bush, the clear signs that she no longer deserves your effort, but rather your distance. Because the harsh truth is, persisting with someone who doesn't value you only destroys your confidence, puts you in a position of dependency, and, even worse, makes you lose yourself. This is exactly where most men fall, trying to prove their worth to someone who has never been able to recognize it. But the game changes when you understand the signs and decide to act with emotional intelligence, without begging for scraps. So take a deep breath and stay with me until the end, because I'm going to reveal the specific behaviors that clearly show when it's time to give her the silence she deserves.
Before we continue, I need to tell you something. This video only reached you because someone liked it and subscribed to our channel. Now it's your turn to do the same. Leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell, so this chain of knowledge keeps growing and reaching more people. Also, comment down below which city you're watching from, because I want to know how far this video is traveling. Now, no more delays, let's get to the good stuff.
Situation 1. When she treats you with arrogance. A woman's arrogance doesn't just show up in big arguments, but often in small details that slowly erode your self-esteem without you even noticing. It's in that superior tone of voice, that look of contempt, or even the way she dismisses your ideas without considering what you have to say. Each arrogant gesture is a silent message. I don't respect you as a man. And respect is the absolute minimum foundation for any relationship. If you have to convince yourself every day that she didn't mean it that way, it's because you're already trying to sugarcoat reality. A man who constantly tolerates arrogance gets used to being belittled, and this is emotional poison. Gradually, you start to doubt yourself, to question if you truly deserve something better, and that's exactly where the power dynamic flips. You put yourself below, while she feels she's above. This imbalance destroys your confidence and drains your energy, because you are stuck with someone who would rather compete with you than be on your team. Silence is the most powerful response in this scenario. There's no point in arguing with someone who has already decided to look down on you. Arrogance isn't fought with justifications or attempts to convince her, but with the absence of validation. When you stay quiet and pull away, you make it clear that you don't accept being put down. And this kind of stance creates a much greater impact than any words, because it shows that you have non-negotiable boundaries. This is when you must remember, a man of value doesn't beg for respect. He demands it simply by not submitting to disrespect. If she insists on treating you with arrogance, the answer isn't to tolerate it and hope for change, but to show through your actions that there is no place for this behavior in your life. The distance, in this case, isn't pride, it's self-preservation. It is the silence that protects your dignity and forces the other person to reflect on whether they've lost someone who won't ever accept being treated as less again.
If you're tired of watching her play games, ignore you, and do whatever she wants with your feelings, it's time to show who's in charge of the game. It's time to make her chase you and recognize your true value. In the first pinned comment, I've left a step-by-step guide on how to make her pursue you. Plus, you'll level up and become the best version of yourself. Click now.
Situation 2. When she puts you on the back burner. Being treated as a backup plan is one of the quietest and cruelest forms of devaluation. It's when you realize that you're only remembered when her first priority falls through, when her other plans don't work out, or when loneliness sets in. In this type of situation, her contact isn't driven by genuine interest, but by convenience. And without realizing it, you become that emotional spare tire, always available, waiting for a chance that never truly comes. The big problem is that accepting this role slowly erodes your identity. You stop being a man with self-worth and turn into an available resource. It's as if the sparkle of your presence only exists when she has nothing better to do. This is devastating for your self-esteem, because every time you accept this condition, you reinforce the idea that you don't deserve to be a priority. And deep down, you know that a man of value doesn't settle for being someone's leftover. This is the moment when silence and distance become indispensable. Showing that you don't accept being a second option is the clearest way to preserve your dignity. When you stop responding promptly, when you don't rush to fill her void, you send a strong message: I am not your pastime. This absence weighs much more than 1,000 explanations because it proves you aren't willing to be used. Understand this. No woman respects a man who allows himself to be reduced to a backup plan. Respect is born when you show that you don't need to be remembered only when she has free time. And if she insists on putting you in this role, it's time to give her the silence she deserves and make it clear that you will only remain where you are seen as a priority. After all, your energy and time are too valuable to be wasted on someone who has never known how to appreciate them. Situation 3. When you always chase and she never does. There is nothing more exhausting than being in a relationship where the effort is one-sided. You chase, you persist, you look for her, you call, and she just receives, without lifting a finger to reciprocate. This creates a hunting dynamic where you're the only one running, while she simply gets away with it, holding all the power and feeding off your persistence. It's an unfair game because you never feel like you're building something real, but rather just trying to get the bare minimum, her attention. Over time, this behavior destroys your masculine energy. Anxiety grows because you start to measure your worth by her response, and each of her silences feels like a personal defeat. The truth is, this constant chasing doesn't prove love, it only proves imbalance. And in an imbalanced relationship, there will always be one person who gives too much and another who becomes comfortable with receiving without effort. When this happens, you need to stop and ask yourself, how long will I submit to this game? This is precisely the moment when silence becomes your weapon. Because when you decide to stop chasing, when you simply stop and focus on your own life, she feels the absence in a way she didn't expect. It's as if the ground beneath her becomes empty, because the game depended on your pursuit. Your silence breaks the cycle and shows that you don't need to beg for attention. You choose to be valued. A man who is always chasing ends up losing the most important thing he has, his self-respect. Pulling away shows that you don't accept being the only one to invest, and that changes everything. Someone who truly cares will come closer. Someone who was never there to begin with will disappear. And believe me, this is the best way to vet someone and protect your value, ensuring you don't waste energy on someone who was never willing to walk beside you. Situation 4. When she always puts you down in public or private. Being put down by a woman, whether in front of others or in the quiet of a room, is a direct blow to your masculinity. It's when she makes offensive jokes at your expense, diminishes your achievements, or treats you as if you're incompetent. The worst part is that this often starts subtly, disguised as an innocent joke, but it grows until it becomes a toxic pattern. And you, trying not to create conflict, end up swallowing insults that corrode your self-respect. This type of behavior isn't just a lack of care, it's a lack of admiration. A woman who truly values the man next to her never feels the need to put him down. When she does this, it shows that she doesn't recognize your importance or your strength. And if you accept this kind of belittling, you send a silent message that any treatment is tolerable, even the most disrespectful. Gradually, you get used to living small in front of someone who should be lifting you up. In this case, silence isn't cowardice, it's the most intelligent response. Because arguing or trying to justify yourself only fuels her game even more. When you distance yourself and show that you won't condone humiliation, she realizes she's lost her place in your life. This absence isn't about pride, it's about preserving your dignity. You don't need to shout to be respected, you just need to withdraw your presence and let the emptiness show her what she has lost. A man of value understands that respect is non-negotiable. If a woman insists on putting you down, the most powerful choice is to walk away. It's not about teaching her a lesson. It's about protecting your self-esteem. The person who truly deserves to walk beside you will admire you in public and in private, because they know that a true partnership doesn't diminish you. It only makes you stronger. Situation 5. When she only looks for you out of interest. Few things are as frustrating as realizing that her presence isn't coming from the heart, but from convenience. She looks for you when she needs something, whether it's money, favors, attention to inflate her ego, or even company so she doesn't feel lonely. But when you need her, silence is the only response. This type of relationship is never balanced. You give because you believe in the bond, and she receives because she has learned to use your goodwill as a resource. The problem is that, when you accept this pattern, you start to feel emotionally drained. It's as if you're a battery that she recharges only when she needs it, without ever giving energy back. You realize this when, instead of feeling pleasure from the connection, you start to carry a heavier and heavier burden. Because it's not love or affection, it's utility. And a man who allows himself to be used in this way gradually loses his self-respect until he becomes invisible in his own eyes. This is the moment when silence becomes liberating. When you stop answering every call she makes out of interest, when you pull away and show that you're not available on demand, she loses control of the situation. Because her entire game depended on your willingness to always be there. Pulling away cuts the cycle of dependency and forces the truth to appear. If she was only coming back for you out of interest, she will have no reason to stay when you stop providing. A man of value isn't chosen for what he can provide, but for who he is. And this is what you need to understand. Your time, your attention, and your energy are not currency to be spent on someone who only knows how to ask. Silence, in this case, is a scream of self-respect. It shows that you don't sell yourself short and that you'd rather be alone than be used. And believe me, when you take this stand, you make space for real people to enter your life. Situation 6. When she ignores your messages on purpose. There are few clearer signs of disinterest than a woman who deliberately ignores you. It's not about being busy. It's about choosing not to give you attention. That feeling of seeing a message read without a reply is a small blow that hurts more than words, because it hits directly at the expectation you had of being valued. And the worst part is that you start to rationalize, trying to find justifications, while deep down you know you are being disrespected. When this becomes a pattern, you feel the frustration growing. Every unreplied read is a silent reminder that your presence doesn't matter to her. Anxiety hits, your mind creates scenarios, and you find yourself chasing something that will never be reciprocated. It is an emotionally exhausting dynamic that consumes your time and mental energy, and it makes you question your own worth. Silence transforms into the most powerful response in this case. Stopping your persistence, not sending repeated messages, or demanding attention forces a change in perspective. When you pull away, not out of empty pride, but out of self-preservation, she feels the absence and realizes that there is no guarantee you will always be available. This distance creates a space where only those who value your presence will stay. A man of value understands that attention should not be demanded, but earned through mutual respect. If she chooses not to reply on purpose, you are not the one who should be chasing to be remembered. Strategic distancing protects your self-esteem and teaches her that you are not available for those who don't show genuine interest. And it is precisely in this stand that you transform your energy into self-respect instead of frustration. Situation 7. When she doesn't respect your time. Nothing erodes a man's patience and self-respect more than someone who treats his time as if it has no value. It's that pattern where she makes plans and cancels without consideration, arrives late without apologizing, or demands your attention when you are already committed to other priorities. Every act of disrespect is a silent reminder that she puts her needs above yours, without thinking about the consequences for you. When you allow this to happen repeatedly, you start to internalize the message that your time doesn't matter. Your schedule, your commitments, and your personal life become secondary to her convenience, and this creates a dangerous emotional imbalance. You start to feel guilty for putting yourself first, even if you are just exercising your right to prioritize your own life. Silence and distance in this case serve as a powerful warning. When you stop being constantly available, when you set clear boundaries and keep your time inviolable, she realizes that you are not someone who can be manipulated or exploited. The strategic absence shows that you do not accept being disrespected and that your life continues regardless of what she does or doesn't do. A man of value understands that time is energy, and energy is respected, not demanded. If she insists on ignoring your time, the most effective response is not to argue, beg, or justify yourself, but simply to pull away and hold your boundaries firm. This stance not only preserves your self-esteem, but also sends an undeniable message. Anyone who doesn't respect you doesn't deserve your attention. Situation 8. When she lies repeatedly. Constant lying erodes any foundation of trust, and when you realize that she hides information, distorts facts, or invents stories, the warning light should turn on immediately. Every lie, no matter how small, is a crack in the relationship that undermines your emotional security. And the most dangerous thing is that you start trying to fit these lies into a reality that doesn't exist, wasting energy trying to justify behavior that is unacceptable. When lying becomes a pattern, you start to doubt everything she says, and this insecurity corrodes your peace. With each discovery, anger and frustration increase, but you still continue to offer explanations and second chances. It's an exhausting cycle that puts you in a position of emotional fragility, while she maintains control of the narrative, choosing when and how to reveal the truth. Silence and distance become essential tools in this scenario. When you decide not to tolerate the lies anymore and pull away, you make it clear that you will not be an accomplice to manipulation. The distance is not revenge, but protection. It creates a space where the truth must emerge, or its absence will be evident, making it clear that you are not willing to accept deception as part of the relationship. A man who values himself understands that trust is non-negotiable. If she lies repeatedly, each lie reveals that respect and transparency do not exist. Maintaining your distance, using strategic silence, and preserving your energy is the most efficient way to protect your emotional integrity. Someone who constantly lies does not deserve your time, your attention, or the space you dedicate to someone who could be trustworthy. Situation 9. When she plays games with your feelings. Playing games with your feelings can seem harmless at first, but it is one of the cruelest forms of emotional manipulation. These are those subtle games. She provokes you, tests you, gives you attention one moment, and ignores you the next, just to see how you react. Each fluctuation is an emotional shock that keeps you trapped in a cycle of expectation and frustration, while she enjoys controlling your emotional state. This type of behavior deeply wears down your self-esteem. You start to question your perception, to doubt what you feel, and to measure every word or action to avoid messing up and being rejected. The problem is that the more you adapt to her game, the more you lose your authenticity and distance yourself from who you really are. It is a silent erosion that few men notice until they find themselves exhausted and emotionally drained. Silence and distance are the most powerful responses in this scenario. When you stop reacting to the provocations, stop feeding the games, and stay centered, you show that you are not manipulable. The lack of reaction breaks the pattern of control she tries to exert because you no longer become a piece in her game, but rather someone with clear boundaries and self-respect. A man who understands his worth does not allow anyone to play with his feelings without consequences. If she insists on this type of behavior, the most intelligent decision is to pull away and give her the silence that protects your emotional integrity. This sends a clear message. You are not entertainment, you are not a pastime, and you will not be manipulated to satisfy someone else's emotional whims. Situation 10. When she never shows gratitude. Being with someone who never acknowledges your efforts is one of the greatest emotional drains a man can face. Every gesture you make, no matter how small or large, goes unnoticed or is taken for granted. This lack of gratitude creates a silent emptiness because you start to wonder if all the emotional and time investment is really worth it. And the truth is, when appreciation doesn't come, the relationship becomes one-sided and exhausting. Over time, this absence of recognition corrodes your motivation. You start to make less effort, not because you've lost interest, but because you realize that nothing you do is enough to be noticed. Frustration grows, and that feeling of constantly giving without receiving begins to weigh on your self-esteem. It is a silent draining of energy that many men try to ignore, but which becomes impossible to sustain for long. Silence and distance are essential to restore your emotional balance. When you stop waiting for recognition and distance yourself from someone who never values your presence, you establish clear boundaries. The strategic absence sends a powerful message. Your time, effort, and dedication are not available to someone who doesn't know how to be grateful. It is a way to protect your energy and your self-respect. A man of value understands that gratitude is fundamental in any healthy relationship. If she never shows appreciation, it's a sign that the bond is not reciprocal. Giving space and being silent is not contempt, it's self-preservation. It shows that you don't accept being underestimated and that you will only remain in the life of someone who truly recognizes your worth. Situation 11. When she makes no effort to see you. Nothing is more revealing of a woman's true interest than the effort she puts into being by your side. If she constantly avoids meetings, postpones commitments, or simply shows no desire to share moments with you, this is a clear sign you are not a priority. And staying in this situation causes you to waste time and emotional energy on someone who doesn't value your presence. When you realize that the effort is only coming from one side, the frustration grows silently. Every attempt to make a plan that doesn't happen, every excuse that sounds empty, creates a constant feeling of rejection. It's as if, without realizing it, you are accepting less than you deserve and normalizing a pattern where your dedication is not reciprocated. Silence and distance act as a powerful warning. By making yourself a priority in your own life and not chasing someone who doesn't make an effort, you send a clear message. Your presence is not guaranteed for someone who doesn't show reciprocity. The strategic absence forces her to reflect and makes her realize the value of what she is losing. A man of value understands that healthy relationships require mutual dedication. If she makes no effort to see you, it is not your place to insist. The decision to walk away is not about pride, but about self-respect. Keeping your distance protects your energy and creates space for people who truly want to share moments with you. Situation 12. When she always prefers parties over being with you. Realizing that she chooses parties, clubs, or the company of friends instead of spending time with you is a clear sign of inverted priorities. It's not about forbidding her to have fun, but rather understanding that if you are constantly in the background, your emotional value is being ignored. Every time this happens, you feel that silent pang of frustration because you are investing in someone who doesn't show a genuine interest in sharing her life with you. This type of behavior slowly erodes the emotional connection. You start to question if she really cares, if her choices matter to her, and even if you are overreacting by valuing the relationship so much. When the pattern repeats, the feeling of being alone, even when you are together, becomes inevitable, and her presence stops being a source of pleasure and becomes a reason for distress. Silence and distance are powerful tools in this scenario. By not insisting on competing with parties or other plans that distract her, you show that your time and your company have value. Your strategic absence creates a clear contrast. If she really cares, she will start to prioritize moments with you without needing you to beg or explain. A man who values himself understands that healthy relationships require balance. If she constantly chooses her social life over being with you, pulling away is an act of self-preservation. The silence makes it clear that you don't accept being just a convenient option and that you will only remain in the life of someone who truly desires your presence. Situation 13. When she plays emotional games. Emotional games are a silent trap that wears down any man without him immediately realizing it. These are those calculated provocations, jealousy tests, sudden mood swings, and ambiguous messages that leave you in constant doubt about what she feels or thinks. Every time you try to decipher her behavior, you end up spending too much emotional energy, while she maintains control of the situation. This pattern erodes your confidence and emotional stability. You start to doubt yourself, to measure every word and action, and to constantly seek approval, while she seems to enjoy observing your effort. The effect is devastating. Instead of building a relationship based on security and connection, you find yourself trapped in a cycle of uncertainty and manipulation. Silence and distance become the most effective response. When you stop reacting to the games, stop feeding the manipulative behavior, and keep your space intact, you send a clear message: you will not be manipulated. The strategic absence shows that you have boundaries and do not accept being a toy for emotional control. A man of value understands that healthy relationships do not involve tests or manipulation. If she insists on emotional games, the most intelligent decision is to walk away and give her the silence that protects your self-esteem. This demonstrates that you are not vulnerable to manipulation and that you will only stay with someone who values transparency and mutual respect. Situation 14. When she says she likes you, but doesn't show it. Words without actions are the silent poison of any relationship. When a woman says she likes you, but doesn't show affection, interest, or commitment, the feeling that should generate a connection turns into frustration. You start to question whether she really feels something or if she is just talking for convenience. And this contrast between words and actions silently erodes your trust. The lack of demonstration creates an emotional void. Every time you expect affection, attention, or consideration and receive indifference, your patience and self-esteem decrease. It is a confusing pattern because you hold on to what she says, while what she does reveals the reality. You are not a priority. And trying to interpret her every gesture or silence only increases the feeling of exhaustion. Strategic silence and distance are the most powerful response. When you stop waiting for demonstrations that never come, stop justifying her inconsistency, and emotionally distance yourself, you protect your energy. The absence shows that empty words have no weight for you, and that you will only stay with someone who acts in accordance with what they say. A man of value understands that true feelings are proven with actions. If she claims to like you but doesn't show it, it's time to set boundaries and walk away. Silence in this context is not unreasonable rejection. It is self-preservation, and it makes it clear that you will only invest where there is genuine reciprocity. Situation 15. When she intentionally provokes jealousy. Deliberately provoking jealousy is a dangerous game that reveals insecurity and a lack of emotional maturity. When she sends ambiguous messages, praises other men, or shares situations she knows will affect you, she is testing your boundaries and trying to maintain control over you. This behavior is not only manipulative, but also wears down your self-esteem, because you start to measure your worth by the effect you have on her. This silent strategy erodes trust. Every attempt to react or show discontent only fuels the game, and you find yourself trapped in a cycle of emotional instability. The feeling of never knowing where you really stand in the relationship creates constant tension, anxiety, and frustration, transforming what should be a connection into an internal conflict. Silence and distance are essential to break this pattern. When you decide not to react to the provocations, you maintain your firm stance and emotionally distance yourself, sending a clear message: you will not be manipulated. The strategic absence makes it clear that her control and insecurity have no power over you, and that only respect and reciprocity will sustain your bond. A man of value understands that provoking jealousy is not a sign of love, but of emotional imbalance. If she insists on this type of behavior, walking away is the best response. Silence protects your energy, reaffirms your worth, and makes it clear that you will only remain in the life of someone who acts with maturity and respect. Situation 16. When she doesn't celebrate your victories. Nothing erodes a man's self-esteem more than being with someone who doesn't celebrate his achievements. If she reacts with indifference, disdain, or even envy to your victories, each accomplishment ceases to be a source of shared joy and becomes a source of silent frustration. You start to feel that your success doesn't matter, that your efforts are ignored, and this creates a deep emotional emptiness. Her lack of enthusiasm undermines motivation and generates insecurity. Little by little, you find yourself devaluing your own accomplishments because you realize that, to her, nothing you do is relevant enough. It is a toxic pattern that transforms moments of victory into solitary experiences, making it clear that the relationship is not a partnership, but one of emotional apathy. Silence and distance function as a powerful message. By distancing yourself from someone who doesn't celebrate with you, you protect your emotional energy and make it clear that shared joy is a fundamental requirement for staying with someone. The strategic absence demonstrates that recognition and support are essential, and that you will not accept less than you deserve. A man of value understands that success and happiness cannot be solitary when you are in a healthy relationship. If she doesn't celebrate your victories, the best response is to walk away and give her the silence that protects your self-esteem. This shows that you do not tolerate indifference and will only remain with someone who celebrates your life with you. Situation 17. When she acts like she's doing you a favor. Nothing wears down a man's dignity more than being with someone who acts as if your presence is a privilege. When she makes everything seem like a favor, replying to your messages, going on a date, showing affection, each gesture loses its naturalness and becomes a silent reminder that you are indebted just for existing. This attitude undermines your self-esteem and transforms moments that should be light and pleasant into invisible and suffocating demands. This behavior creates a deep emotional imbalance. You start to feel that you are constantly trying to compensate or please, because reciprocity does not exist. Instead of building a connection, you find yourself constantly on the defensive, seeking approval and trying to balance the relationship, while she maintains control over every gesture and decision. Silence and distance become powerful weapons in this scenario. When you stop accepting this attitude, don't react to provocations, and emotionally distance yourself, you make it clear that you will not be submissive to attitudes of superiority disguised as kindness. The strategic absence shows that your presence does not need to be earned as if it were a favor, but that you have the right to be treated with naturalness and respect. A man of value understands that healthy relationships are partnerships, not inverted hierarchies. If she acts as if she's doing you a favor by being with you, the most intelligent decision is to walk away and give her the silence that protects your dignity. This demonstrates that you will only stay with someone who values your presence in a genuine and equal way. Situation 18. When she lacks emotional maturity. Being in a relationship with someone without emotional maturity is like walking on unstable ground. Every step is unpredictable, and you never know when you're going to fall. When she overreacts to simple situations, blames you for problems that don't exist, or demonstrates an inability to deal with frustration, the emotional wear becomes constant. You find yourself always calibrating your words and actions, trying to avoid crises that could be resolved with dialogue and emotional responsibility. A lack of maturity generates tension and instability. Every argument turns into drama. Every mistake you make is amplified, and you start living in a constant state of alert, trying not to provoke outbursts or uncontrolled feelings. This dynamic consumes mental and emotional energy, while the relationship stops being a source of connection and becomes a source of stress and anxiety. Silence and distance become tools of self-preservation. When you decide to distance yourself, you don't react to her outbursts or manipulations and maintain your firm stance, sending a clear message. You will not be dragged into her immaturity. The strategic absence demonstrates that your emotional balance is not available to someone who doesn't know how to deal with their own emotions. A man of value understands that emotional maturity is essential in any relationship. If she doesn't have it, the most intelligent decision is to walk away and apply the silence that protects your inner peace. This shows that you will only remain with someone who is capable of building a relationship based on respect, balance, and emotional responsibility. Situation 19. When she only thinks about what she receives, not what she gives. Being with someone who only cares about what they receive turns any relationship into a selfish monologue. You realize that all the effort, attention, or affection you offer is absorbed without any return, while she rarely shows interest in contributing or reciprocating. This dynamic creates an emotional imbalance because you end up carrying the weight of the relationship alone, while the other person enjoys the benefits without committing. When you notice this pattern, frustration grows silently. Every one of your gestures that should generate connection or joy becomes a source of disappointment, because there is no reciprocity. You begin to feel like you are investing in a relationship that offers no exchange, and emotional exhaustion becomes inevitable. It's impossible to build true intimacy when only one side is giving. Silence and distance become essential. By stopping the flow of your energy to someone who only thinks about receiving, you set clear boundaries. Your strategic absence shows that you don't tolerate emotional selfishness and that you'll only stay with someone who understands that a relationship is a two-way street. A man of value understands that giving and reciprocity are pillars of any healthy relationship. If she only thinks about what she receives, the smartest decision is to step away and apply the silence that protects your self-esteem. This sends an undeniable message. You will not be exploited, and you'll only stay with someone who is willing to invest just as much as you are. Situation 20. When, deep down, you realize she no longer deserves your silence, but your definitive absence. There comes a point when the accumulation of toxic attitudes, disrespect, and disinterest makes it clear that her value in your life has expired. It's not about a single mistake, but a continuous pattern that reveals who she really is, someone who doesn't genuinely appreciate, respect, or care about you. At this point, silence is no longer enough. a definitive absence becomes necessary to preserve your peace and self-esteem. Staying present with someone who doesn't deserve it only prolongs the pain and consumes your emotional energy. Every excuse you create, every attempt to justify unacceptable behavior, only delays the inevitable, realizing that you deserve more than scraps of attention or affection. Definitive distance is an act of courage and self-worth, because it means choosing yourself instead of persisting with someone who doesn't care. Strategic absence is not revenge, but self-preservation. When you withdraw your presence from the life of someone who doesn't value it, you set a clear boundary and send a silent, yet powerful message. Your self-respect is non-negotiable. This distancing creates space for you to have relationships that truly add value and genuine connection, without unnecessary exhaustion. A man of value understands that some people simply don't deserve to remain in his life. If she no longer respects, values, or cares, the best decision is a definitive absence. This protects your energy, reaffirms your worth, and ensures that you only invest your time and feelings in someone who truly deserves to walk beside you. If this video made a difference for you, please like it and subscribe to the channel. Every video we create here is made with great care, always with the goal of helping you develop and become your best version. We want to share practical and direct tips that will truly have a positive impact on your life. So, don't waste time and comment below with the word gratitude and the phrase, "in search of my best self." With this, the algorithm will show this video to even more men who are looking for growth. Your engagement in the comments is essential to ensure our content reaches those who need these tips the most. Furthermore, your support with a like and a subscription to the channel strengthens our work and gives us motivation to continue creating valuable content for your journey. The more you interact, the more men will also have access to this type of information, which only helps our mission to transform lives. So, thank you for being with us on this journey. Stay tuned for the next videos, because we are always bringing new things to help you evolve. Big hug, and see you in the next video.